Hello, everybody. This is Jason with JR Custom Designs and Rotoboss Rotary Attachments. I'm here with Chris Licasio. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July long weekend. Now we're getting kind of back in gear. We've kind of been missing things for the past couple weeks. Both of us have been pretty busy, and so now we finally got to get together and talk about some Rotary stuff. So again, I'm Jason, JR Custom Designs, creator of the Rotoboss, and Chris, if you want to say a little bit about yourself real quick.
Chris Casio, House of Lasers, and Thunder Laser USA. What's up, everybody?
How's it going? So I want to start this off and just let everybody know kind of the message I already posted in the comments is, this is a question and answer / kind of going over Rotary setups and things like that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and post them in the comment section. We'll keep an eye on them and address them as we go along here. So so as the podcast is labeled, we're going to be going over a little bit of everything Rotary, not anything specific to any brand, but basic setup and things like that. And you guys missed a little offline thing we did before this with me and Chris going at it over something that may or may not come out during this. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a good night. Thanks for joining. If you're in, I see there's 4 people in here right now. And yeah, so all right. So some of the things we're going to go ahead and start off with is talking about the different kinds of rotaries. Whether you have a rotary, you're looking to get a rotary, looking for something different, there's a lot of different options out there and available for you. We have some, as well as, I think it's Manfield, Thunder has a couple, like their Chuck that they have. Hey, what's going on, Jeff? And a bunch of other stuff. X-Tool, I think, has one. OM Tech has one. I mean, they all have some form or fashion of a rotary. So, like I said, we're just kind of going over the differences between them. We have some stuff on our YouTube channel on how to set up rotaries and things like that, which are pretty universal, besides the different wheel diameters and things like that you'll have to deal with for the specific rotary that you have, but the setup procedure is pretty much the same. Before we get into that, Chris, you want to add anything as far as rotaries go?
No. I mean, I will. I mean, you're not boasting about Rotoboss, but I will say that when I first started out, I got heavy into making tumblers to the point where I started my own cup line. And the worst thing about the machine that I had was the anchor that they call the rotary. It was so crazy. It was an aluminum chassis with an aluminum block and some wheels on it, and the friction on that thing to adjust it was insane. And I don't remember how I got to meet you. Somebody said you got to check out these rotaries, but since that day that I got that one and we were able to modify it to work with the machine that I had, I've been a subscriber to the Rotoboss line for sure. If that's something that you do and you're making money doing rotary stuff, you can't cheap out on it. The amount of failed cups that you're going to have, it was insane. The amount of, like, I had boxes of failed cups because of that crappy rotary I had. It was insane.
I remember you showing that to me.
I actually gave it away for somebody to practice on. Like, it had to be over a couple $1,000s worth of shit cups.
And we've all been dealing with those. Anybody that's been in this business for any length of time knows what we're talking about with those kind of rotaries, like the D80s, D90s, the flat Chinese scissor lift type rotary, just real cheaply made. I mean, they were great for the time because that's all we had. But with the other people in the industry kind of coming up with their own thing for rotaries, that's obviously changed a lot for the better. and you know you kind of get, like you said, you kind of get what you pay for. You can get them pretty cheap, $200-$300. I think our cheapest is $500 for your standard um, two-phase type, 2 or 3 phase type laser, like
Hmm.
Xeon, Laguna, all them guys. So I
Yeah,
mean,
unfortunately, we kind of throw a little bit of complexity into the mix.
yeah, the motors selection for Thunder is what makes it a little bit more expensive. Um, but I mean, other than that, like I said, our $500 one has all the same features, has clamps, heel wheel, all that stuff. So I mean, you can get a really decent one. You know, Mansfield Custom's been around for a while. They've made some improvements on their stuff. And there's a bunch of others out there. I can't even begin to think of all of them.
Hey, Jason,
Um,
the
yep,
pop up Michael's
yeah,
question,
I just saw that.
is my answer correct on the Talon as well?
I
Dip
have
switch
the
5?
Talon and the Bolt. I have to send a file over reversed. Yeah, I think I saw a post about this, and I tried to reach out. Um, if it's on the Thunder that you're referring to, which it looks like you are, if it depends on how you have it in the machine. The Talon is meant to sit on the right hand side as you're looking in the machine. So the motor and everything should be on the right hand side. That's the way it's set up from us to spin the proper direction. If you choose to put it on the other side, which you can, all you have to do is take the number 5 dip switch on the back of the motor, a little white switch in that blue box, and flip it to the opposite location. So typically for the Talon, it's on off 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 off. So if you flip it around, you would be on off on off, and then that'll reverse the direction, and then you won't have to mirror or anything like that. So, but yeah, so I think like I said, I think I saw a post on this, and I tried to reach out. I don't remember, but I do remember seeing
It's
something about this.
it's hard following all the social media posts and questions there, as opposed to,
Yeah,
you know, you got,
yeah.
you have
I
to
tried.
follow your own stuff, your emails, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Plus
yeah. I've got
plus.
like 5 different email accounts. I got 10
Well, that's your
different
bad.
social media pages. I mean, I know I created my own problem. Um, but yeah, if it's on the right, like I said, your dip switches should be um, on off. And if you're having to mirror it, you might want to check your light burn settings and make sure it doesn't say mirror output or reverse rotary direction because sometimes if those are checked, it'll definitely mess with that. So I
It's
would
on the
check
okay. Yeah,
if
check your dip switch then.
if the dip switches are in the proper location, um, then like I said, you want to double check and make sure the mirror output's not selected or reverse uh, rotary direction is not selected. Because that reverse rotary direction is something new that they added, which is freaking awesome. So now if you don't have a Thunder where you can manipulate the switches, you can change it, with other machines. That makes it a lot easier.
And to
Um,
my understanding, at least with some testing, um, on our machines, on the Thunder machines, you don't have to activate the rotary. You don't have to remember
yep.
to turn it on and off. You just plug it in. But if you want it to mirror, you have to have it on. So in a normal situation, you plug in your rotary, you go with a Thunder laser. You don't have to even think about it. But if you need that reverse, or if you're using the chuck where you have to have it spin, you're gonna have to turn it on because
I,
you're pulling the diameters over as well, I believe.
yeah, I'm not too familiar with that. I didn't know if that would affect anything because it's not using the y-axis, which is what the rotary switch is basically for, is to turn off the Y and use the
Right.
settings from the rotary. So, but yeah, Michael, check that out and see. Let us know. And if you have a problem, my number's on the side of the rotary on the motor mount. So let's see here. Let me turn off this thing going on in the background.
Is it bothering you?
Yeah, it's distracting me. Um, so yeah, check that out. Let us know. Um, yeah, back to what we were saying. So yeah, you can get some pretty decent machines if you're just doing it for a hobby. You're not looking to spend a lot of money. You could definitely get them for cheap, but at the cost of potentially losing a lot of money and um, damaged goods from it slipping or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of a trade-off. You got to kind of think about it like that. Is what's the trade-off? Okay, I'm buying the $300 rotary. That's not sufficient, but I'm wasting $500 worth of
Right.
material. So
Yeah, I mean, at $40 at $40 to $50 a pop for a Yeti, that
yeah,
that could get costly. One little slip, you're done.
yeah, and not to say like our stuff is perfect, because it can and does have flaws at points. Sometimes it's user error. Things like that. So it does happen. But if you're mindful of things and not just throwing things in there, you're kind of being conscious about what you're doing, and everything. You could be pretty successful. I mean, I don't know the last time that I've had a messed up cup, but um, it still can happen regardless of what machine you have. Even with a chuck, I mean, a chuck can still mess up if your settings are off or your line
You don't
intervals.
tighten it down.
You don't tighten it down. There's so many things. We try to make them, and I guess maybe speak for other people. We try to make them as user friendly as possible. Um, but it's more about just being mindful of what you're doing and being careful with it. So
So I got a question for you, Jason.
yeah,
So I mean, I know our Thunder ones are top notch. I mean, the construction on them, the QC on them. I mean, typically we don't have any complaints about them. Occasionally something weird, usually a shipping damage issue. But across the board, I'm guessing your QC is the same for everything.
yeah, QC is the same for everything, and it actually goes through two different people for the final checks. And I mean, yes, things can slip by. Um, if something happens after it's QC'd, someone grabs it and takes a clamp off, or does something with it and doesn't put it back.
Mhm.
We've had it. We sent one out recently without a clamp, the bracket and all. Don't know exactly how that happened, who did it, or whatever. But I mean, mistakes can be made, and we make it right as quick as we can. But yeah, the QC process is the same. Um, and if it has we don't let it go if it has issues. So if you
Right.
have issues when you get it, like our biggest one is the Rotoboss because of the twin towers. We put the shipping bracket on the motor side, but even with that bracket, sometimes that can get knocked out of whack with shipping and things like that. So, and obviously maintenance on them, taking care of them, keeping them clean. I've seen some ones that are pretty pretty well used, like I put it that way.
Yeah.
You got to keep them clean. You got to take care of them. Um, and
So
if you
that's
do that,
I mean, since you're talking about that, wheel maintenance.
yeah.
So
So
I don't know what you recommend, but one of the things that I personally do is I go to the auto parts store and I get some belt dressing, and it actually makes those silicone. Are they silicone or are they what are they?
the orange ones were silicone. The black ones are EPDM.
So spray it, and it actually makes them tacky,
Yep.
and it allows it to basically adhere to the cup or has more grip on the cup.
Yep. And we're working on. I'm working with a manufacturer to try to get some better, stickier kind of material. But obviously, you don't want it too much because then it'll start trying to lift up off the wheels if it gets more traction on one wheel than the other. So there's kind of a fine line you got to walk there. But yeah, cleaning them off. They're EPDM. They're chemical resistant. They're oil resistant. So you can pretty much clean them off with anything.
Mm.
I'd stay away from the harsher stuff like acetone and naphtha and stuff like that. But denatured alcohol itself,
Yeah.
things like that.
That's actually
And
exactly what I use. I use denatured alcohol because I mean, you're busting this powder coat off of these cups, and it turns into powder, and it's dropping on the wheels. If you look at
yeah,
the wheels after a long day or a week's use of cups, it's got a powder on it.
yeah, a lot of times you'll start seeing rings show
Yep.
up on the outside of your cup. And if you're getting rings on the outside of your cup, you definitely need to do some maintenance on it, clean them up, because that will cause slipping. Because a lot of the coatings on there are Teflon-ish kind of material based, so they're very slippery. And when it's fine particles like that, it's like rubbing baby rotary. Making sure that you're keeping it clean and taking care of it is really important. Um, so so kind of getting back to the root of this. So there's rollers out there like the hot dog rollers. There are some that's good. And what I mean by that, and if you look in the thumbnail for this, it's the bottom left rotary, where it's basically a long tube or two long tubes that are attached to the motor, and then your object sits on it. Some of them you have the option to level it. Some of them you have to put something under one end or something to offset it. But those are your very basic rotaries, and a lot of like I think X Tool has one, and a couple of the other companies that have like diode lasers, the open kind of framed laser systems, um, and they can work good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them really, but again, it comes down to being a hobbyist, doing it once in a while, or doing it regularly as a business. It becomes more of a pain because you risk a lot more damaged items when you're doing those. Then we have things like the 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 standard roller rotary, and again, you can see that on the thumbnail for this podcast. And that those are typically the ones that you would get from a laser company that doesn't that doesn't have mine or somebody else's in their inventory. If you get a rotary, that's typically what you're going to get. Like Boss has them, Laguna, AP, all of them have a variation of that. And they're pretty good. They're crude and rudimentary in some ways. The scissor lift ones in particular, which is what most people are used to, or at
Mm-hmm.
least, like I said, it's been in it a while. They're very janky. They're very loose, rickety. They're very cheaply made. Um, and again, at the time, that was
What was
what
available? Yeah.
what was available, and it was good. So a lot of people that get the rotaries that are made today by myself and other manufacturers, it's kind of spoiled because the
You didn't
issues
have to.
that
You didn't have to struggle with
yep.
throwing a roll of quarters and all that
Yeah.
stuff in there to make sure it stayed on the rotary.
Yeah, a lot of people that you see making comments about, oh, I'll throw some quarters in it, tape some quarters to it, or whatever. Chances are those are some people that have been around for a while and have had to do that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
With our rotaries, never had to do that. I don't recommend it, um, because if there's an issue, there's something else going on that would need to be addressed. Either it's dirty or something's out of alignment, something like that. So, but yeah, and then of course, you have your traditional D80, D90. So if anybody has a Galvo machine, that's typically what you're going to get when you get one of those machines. And other laser companies use them for their chuck rotaries as well, but they're usually attached to some kind of fixture that allows you to adjust um, one end in some way or another. Um, and then you've got, well, again, Mansfield Custom. What's the other HR? The HR or something like
I
that?
I really didn't know there were so many other manufacturers.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, myself and our competitor, we're kind of at the top level of the rotaries, not only in price but in quality. But um, there's other companies out there that make them. There's a company I think it still makes them like 3D printed, which is there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've got people that have my 3D printed and plastic rotaries from almost 5 years ago, and they work just fine.
Right.
So there's nothing against it. It's just if you're going to charge more money, you have to have something worth charging for, and the consistency, reliability, durability, and everything of aluminum or some form of metal always holds more value. It's going to last longer. So I mean, those are the kind of things that add the value to it. And like with ours, we have lifetime warranty and support on everything that we have, which nobody else does that I'm aware of. So if you ever have problems or anything, we
Whose
take care of it.
lifetime?
Whose lifetime?
Yours? The owner? Who's?
The lifetime of however long this journey lasts. I mean, I don't plan on going anywhere. As a matter of fact, I know I ain't going anywhere. But, um, you know, so I mean, our motto's always been Rotor Boss is the last rotor you'll ever need, and we back that up with the support and warranty that we offer.
And you sell parts and everything, right?
Yeah, we sell different parts. We got stuff for fibers,
Well, I
leveling
mean, like
jigs.
you're talking about PM, maintenance.
Yeah,
So belts and O-rings are really the only things that need to be replaced on those, right?
yeah. I
There's
mean,
really
the
nothing else.
warranty doesn't really cover consumables because there's so many things that could go into that. Like if someone puts harsh chemicals on it and dries them out and cracks them and stuff. I mean, but with the EPDM, I mean, they're UV resistant. Um, they're completely chemical resistant and things like that. So the chance of them going bad is slimmer. The belts
Right.
are Kevlar reinforced um, neoprene rubber, or not neoprene. I
Take
forget what
your
it's
time.
called. But
Take your
anyways,
time.
they're Kevlar reinforced, so they're not going to stretch. If they do, it's not going to be by much, and they're not really going to tear or wear out or anything like that because you're not spinning these things at hundreds of miles per hour
RPM. All right.
or RPMs. So I mean, and there's no real load on them, so you're not really going to damage them. Um, Again, real quick, I see some more people jumped on. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments so we can address it kind of as we go here. Because otherwise we'll just ramble on. But so I wanted to go ahead and jump over to um, our YouTube channel. And there's several people out there that have tutorials and stuff on how to set up your rotaries and do different things. Um, we've started making videos on different things as well, like adjusting your vendor settings, which is your U or Y axis, to slow down your acceleration and movement speeds, which greatly helps in the engraving process to prevent slippage, and also when you're framing to, like we've had a couple instances with the Talon recently where you know the settings in Lightburn are typically maxed out by the manufacturer. Thunder actually does it right, and they actually dial it back. Everybody else throws them up at like 3,000 millimeters a second and all this other stuff. Thunder actually dials them back in their firmware, but for certain things, it's better to dial them back a little bit further. I think they set them at like 100. I recommend putting acceleration and your max speed at 50. It's going to frame slower, but it's going to be more accurate. You're going to have less issues like jittery because it'll sit there and kind of jitter as it goes around because the motor's trying to keep up with what you're trying to demand of it. So it's constantly it's like cruise control in your car. It accelerates, decelerates, accelerates, decelerates, and it's constantly trying to do that. And if it's trying to go too fast, it'll cause it to kind of jitter. So there's one in there for that. I'm not going to show the videos because um, I don't
Y'all
know.
can do that on your own.
Yeah, I'll drop a link. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now to our playlist. And then, if you want to check it out during or after this, you are more than welcome to.
Not during, because you're
Um,
busy watching this.
oh yeah, yeah. Pay attention. um, Another big thing, and I will pull this up. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to pull it up just so you can see what it says here. So this is Lightburn, saving your settings for different objects in Lightburn. This is, you're kind of creating a folder or a library, so to speak. So in certain situations, regardless of your rotary, whether it's a chuck, a roller, whoever's, whatever's, you want to do this for a couple reasons. One, we used to have to write stuff down and keep track of each type of cup, size, shape, all that stuff, and keep all our settings written down. But with this, I go through and I show you how to actually, once you get your steps set for a particular item, you can actually save them into a folder. And then that way, all you have to do when you're using that particular item is go in, pull it, and load it into Lightburn, and all the settings follow. So it's quick and easy just to switch between them. You don't have to go back through and set everything up again. It's all done. You should only have to do it one time as long as the cups are the same. Like if you're doing a Yeti water bottle and a Polar Camel water bottle, have two different files, one for each, and then you just pick whichever one you're doing. You can quickly go between them and set them up.
I'm gonna have to watch that myself.
Yep. It's not quite as intuitive as Lightburn's material library and things like that. But like what I do and I go over it in the video is I created a folder. It's laser rotary settings, and then I do my initial setup, which we recommend using a 20-ounce cup just to be consistent with the way the manual's set up. Do your 1-inch test, get your steps set up, and save that. I label it as baseline, which covers basically anything from a shot glass to a 30-ounce cup with just regular logos and designs. If you're doing round or square objects with defined edges, then you're probably going to have to make some changes here and there, just to make sure it looks like a square or a circle, whether that be checking your steps or making the y-axis a little bit longer or stretching the y-axis. And it's basically from parallax, because you're looking around a cup, and if you have a big logo, as it goes around the cup, it's going to make it look skinnier. So you try to make it wider, which actually makes it oval, but it
looks normal.
Looks normal. So we have that.
So real quick on that, because it's funny that you brought that up, and then it's funny that you mentioned material library, because we have a request, and Lightburn says that it's completely possible, and they're going to try to implement, and it's going to be a material library of rotary settings. So you'll be able to say Polar Camel 20-ounce, save your steps per rotation for, doing your wrap, and then move on to your next one. So whatever you're using, you'll be able to pull from the drop down, just like the material test library, or the material library, or even your art library. You'll be able to pull from that and say, this is what I'm using.
Well, that'd be awesome. I didn't know they were coming out with that.
Well, I mean, we've asked, and they said it's possible, and they say maybe a version or two down the road.
Yeah, I know I've talked to them about it before, but this was probably a year or more ago, and it wasn't obviously something that they were concerned with. But yeah, definitely if it comes out, it's the same, but it's better, because I'm assuming it will be all housed just like the material library, and on the right hand column you can add it to the window
in the
there.
in the rotary setup. You just pick from a drop down, and away you go. I mean, it doesn't hurt for people to go on and request it for.
Yeah, because I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. If a lot of people want it, I mean, they're all about advancing and improving, any way they can.
Yep.
And but if only one or two people are asking about it, that's not of high importance to them at that point. At least it wouldn't be to me.
Right.
But so I assume it's the same way with them. So the next one we have down is the Rotoboss rotary setup in Lightburn. And again, this is specific to Rotoboss just because I'm Rotoboss, but the same procedures would apply to any rotary that you're doing, any roller rotary that you're doing. So whether you have our rotary or not, it's a quick quick look at what you can do to set them up or how to set them up. And again, it's not Rotary specific. I just cover Rotoboss specific stuff because that's my product. I didn't mean to do that. Then the next thing, another one, getting started with Rotoboss rotaries and Lightburn setup and steps per rotation, and that's just kind of an addition to that other video. Then we have setting up your Talon chuck rotary, and again, this can work for any chuck rotary. It's the same principle, same concept. It's just obviously specific in this video for mine, but the same principles, same techniques, and everything apply in that. One of the things that I like the most recently is the taper warp feature in Lightburn, which I have a little tutorial in here on how to do that or how that works. In no way am I an expert. I went based off of my knowledge and my experience in using it. There may be different ways to do it, but this works for me, and it's a phenomenal tool because before you used to have to go into Lightburn or Corel or whatever you're using and add your perspective manually by shifting the nodes, and it was a guessing game because it changes based on your size, length, diameter, all that stuff, which the taper warp function accounts for when you put those numbers in. So that was a huge benefit, especially if you're doing tapers, like a 32 ounce or even a 20 ounce, because as you go further down the cup, they start to get squished the further you go down. And with this taper warp, it actually keeps everything the same size and adjusts it so you can still do a full wrap with it, but it calculates and compensates for that in that software. And then before that, I did the adding perspective where they have the 4-point warp and a 16-point warp, which basically does the same thing as the taper warp, but you can individually move the nodes around and everything and kind of make it kind of wonky and all over the place if you want to, and kind of do some different stuff. And then I guess I got another one in here for saving different objects in Lightburn. I must have posted that twice. Oh well. One says a year ago, one says 2 weeks ago. So I'll have to look at that and see. But anyways, so that's the start of our playlist. Like I said, I left the link in the comment section. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out. Are you seeing any comments on your end, Chris?
No, everybody's
after Michael. I haven't seen anything.
Quiet. Everybody's quiet. Sure. No questions.
Yeah, hopefully this is helping somebody. If you got any questions, that's the point of this podcast is to kind of go over different rotaries and answer questions that you guys might have.
And it doesn't, it could be anything really. I mean, it doesn't have to be about this topic. We usually it's halfway through the podcast, and we usually wrap up for the most part, and leave it up to you guys. So
I mean, that's in a nutshell. That's kind of an abbreviated overview of the different rotaries and some of the things you can do to set them up and do things. By no means is it the end of it. But do your research. There's a lot of people out there that do a lot of stuff. You got Robert Kofed, Alicia Pate, Katie Devlin, Sam, Annabelle.
Yep.
There's a lot of people do the cups and things. Try to find the people that you I guess can trust or that are reputable. And not to say that someone that's not all over social media is not reputable, but just be careful, I guess, who you listen to or how you listen to them. Get kind of different opinions from different.
I mean,
different people.
What I have found on social media is that people want to help.
Yeah.
And they think they know the answer, and they're more than happy to give it. But it may lead you down some rabbit holes that aren't correct.
Yeah. So I'm not knocking anybody that gives advice, because all advice is good advice, but just bounce that off of different people. Like look through your comment.
I don't know. I've received some shitty advice sometimes.
Well, it can be good. you don't know until it's not.
Right.
But I'm just
Too
saying, like
late.
if you post a question and you see 20 comments, I wouldn't just focus on one that catches your eye. Kind of look through all of them and find the common denominator among them, and then kind of go down that route. Because if there's a lot of people saying the same thing, either they're just repeating other people's comments, or it's a legit solution or avenue to go down to try to find a solution for your problem. And we seem to talk about that a lot every podcast, but it's really important.
It
And
is.
looking at rotaries or even lasers for that matter. Um, do your research. Don't just trust the talking heads. And there's a lot of people out there. Um, like know who you're getting the information from, and kind of do some research around that. And I'm not saying that to push you towards mine or towards anybody else or whatever. It's um, just do a little research. A lot of the influencers and stuff like that, they have good information. A lot of them know what they're doing. But typically, when it comes to this industry, it's either one side or the other. Um, like myself and Chris, we've had several different laser brands over the years, and so we can talk to and about a lot of different lasers. Pretty much everything that's on the market right now, on the Chinese based, I guess you could call it, side of things, or the Chinese originating lasers. Because I've had all of them but AP and Laguna myself, and I know Chris has had AP and several other brands as well. So just try to get a well-rounded um, a well-rounded or a well-educated
Yeah.
um, bit of information before you make a decision, because it's a lot of money. Like with the laser, no matter how you swing it, you know, $4,000 to $20,000, it's a lot of money. A rotary, $500 to $2,000, it's a lot of money. I mean, and you don't want to make the wrong decision, the wrong choice, especially when your livelihood could depend on it. And money's tight, obviously, for all of us, and you got to make every penny count. So,
So,
um,
Jason,
hmm,
I'm gonna veer off a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you a question
uh-oh.
because I'm interested in this. There's one company that I know of that makes it, and it's garbage. And I want to get your impression of it and why you don't offer it. Because I have my reasons for not to use it, but
Okay.
a multi-roller.
Um.
The
So
the 7-Eleven hot dog roller.
my personal or professional opinion.
Yeah, I mean
um.
mix it up.
So okay. So my personal opinion on that is you're not really saving any time. Um. The only thing you're allowing yourself is time to do other things. So if you do one cup and it takes you 6 minutes, multiply that by how many ever cups you can put on whatever device that might be, and multiply it by that, and then you're probably going to add 10 or 20% to that because
Or
of
negative space.
negative space that the head has to traverse between them.
Right.
So that 6 minute job, let's say it's 6 cups, so that's 36 minutes plus an extra, let's say 10 minutes or 5 minutes for traversing and all the other stuff. um, so you're at 41 minutes. So basically the only thing that affords you to do is if you have multiple things to do and there's not a worker specifically designated to the machine, that's where you're going to get your benefit from it. It's not going to be any faster. In fact, it's going to be slower. And there's no debate about that. That's fact.
Oh, you can try to debate it, but
Yeah,
we'll
but
be happy to
but
prove you wrong on that.
but no matter what you do, you're not saving any time as far as production wise. You're
Right.
basically just giving yourself time to do other things while those 6 items are rolling. The downside to that currently is nobody has any way to secure the item. So I'm not going to name names, but there's a multi-roller out there. Is that me freezing or you? There's a multi-roller out there that'll do 6 cups. Great idea for if that's what you need is time to do other things, but there's no way to secure them down. You can only do one type at a time. You can't have like multiple setups and do different things. You have to run the same exact cups on all of them, as far as I know. And then on top of that, say on a Polar Camel, it's not a big deal because there's no logo to contend with and make sure it's lined up or whatever. But with all those rapid movements on all the different cups, it's because everything moves together. So your first one might be perfectly lined up with a logo, but by the time you get to the 4th, 5th, or 6th one, it's going to be off because all that shifting motion with nothing to secure it, the cup is likely to slip.
Right, because they're moving, even though it's engraving 2 at a time, right? So you got 2.
It can, yeah.
Right, you got 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. It's engraving 2, but it's spinning the other 4, right? And the chances of those, like if you've ever run a rotary without anything holding it down, no clasp, no nothing, they're not going to stay in position. There's no way. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So those are moving back and forth while the other one's going. So those are out of position. Yeah, it's.
I mean, and then, like I said, that's my personal opinion. Professional opinion, as far as making rotaries and stuff, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But if we ever do anything like that, I can assure that it's going to be a lot more stable and consistent, I guess you could say, reliable and consistent. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, I love to tinker. I'm always trying to improve and make different things. Hence the reason why we got 9 different rotaries right now, which serve all different purposes, budgets, machines. So there's a rhyme and a reason for having that many. But there's other things in the pipeline that we're working on for lasers specifically, not really rotary per se. But we have something in work for laser machines, which I'll talk about that when the time draws near. Can't really trust anybody these days, so I don't want to put too much information out. But
I don't have it yet, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't even have it yet. It's still up here.
Oh God.
No, it's been prototyped already. I'm just deciding whether or not I want to go through with it or not. But yeah, so that's kind of my professional / personal opinion on the multi rollers. Like I said, if you're doing JDS, it doesn't matter. You have nothing to worry about really. But if you're using logoed cups or Arctics, Yetis, whatever, you're going to have issues regardless. So yeah. So let's see here. All right, Mike, glad you figured that out. I'm not sure. I guess it would depend on when you got the rotary for the switches, because when we first released the Talon, we had the switches in a different position, which had lower steps per rotation. We changed the configuration of the switches to give more steps per rotation. And then with the Talon Pro that's going to be coming out in the near future, which we have pre-orders for it right now on our website, rotaryattachments.com.
Plug.
Yeah. That's a belt drive system with a gear reduction. So basically you're doubling and possibly even more if you could put different pulleys on it. We just doubled the gear ratio, so it actually doubles whatever your machine is able to put out. So if it's 8,000, it'll double it to 16,000, which realistically is more beneficial for galvo type use, because you can make much finer movements. So having more steps per rotation allows you for much more precise movement in the rotary. I mean, it works just fine with like the Odins and not the Odins, but the bolts and the Novas. Um, but it's more beneficial for the Galvo user. Um, so
Nobody's got questions. What?
I know.
We have one user on here right now, or what?
I'm seeing 5, and one of them's probably me because I got a window open. But trying to boost the numbers. No, and I think there's people watching on Facebook and stuff too. So
right.
which we can't see that on here, or I can't see that on here. So yeah, I think this is the first time we've been speechless this early. Let's see.
I'll go on to Facebook and check it out and see, because
Trying to
we don't monitor that at all.
Yeah, I don't have Facebook pulled up. What the hell? Someone let the door open. Now the cats are all over. I'm gonna chase them out. For what?
Where do you broadcast that? Oh, there we go. I think
right in the kitchen. Do what?
I was trying to figure out where you broadcast that on Facebook.
Correct. There you go. You're correct in that it only allows you to do other things, which those have to be multiple lasers. Usually find its benefit is productive. If I have less time, work on other projects, at least that's the workflow. I don't have a multi-roller.
I would say if that was going to work correctly, I would probably just want a single row to maximize the amount. I mean, once you start moving to multiple tiers, the other ones are just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah. And in that regard too, if you have it, especially if you have a bigger machine, and let's say you can fit like 3 or 4 of them in a row, if you have a faster machine like the Bolt or the whatever the Eon is, or I don't even know if Boss has one that's really fast or not. But anyways, if any of the companies have the faster machines and you're doing it in a line, you're gonna see a significant increase because you're actually able to take more advantage of the actual speed of the laser.
Right.
Because when you're running a smaller, like 3 or 4 inch item on a cup, yes, it's going pretty fast, but you're not actually reaching the full potential of that laser because of it's in such a small area. So having it in the line would be a better solution. The only problem with that from a design or not a manufacturing, but a business aspect as far as making them, is the machine sizes vary so much that
right.
It'd be hard unless there was like a modular piece that you could attach to it to make it longer, to add another set of cups, or something like that. But
there you go. Start designing.
I play the fifth on that. Anyways, trust me, I've got things in work already. I can't say what exactly they are, but
of course not.
The multi roller is definitely in the back of my mind. But even with like our Rotoboss setup or the junior, we have a way to do multiple cups. You can only do 2 because anything more than that, you lose the capability of driving that distance off of one side. So the most you could do really on it would be 2.
It's just stacking, right?
Well, they're lengthwise, yeah. So you'd have one cup sitting regularly, then you have a second set of wheels on the back of the slave wheels that the other cup would sit on, and then you have another set of slave wheels. So you have basically 2 sets of slave wheels, and the first cup basically drives the second cup via the slave wheels.
Got it.
But like I said, you start doing much more than that, then you're adding the weight and friction and all that stuff, and it doesn't become reliable. So there definitely have to be a different setup for that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, doing kind of like you doing thousands of cups. It ends up coming down to a normal logo that's 3 to 3.5 inches. Takes about 2 to 4 minutes. In that
Yep.
time, I'm unboxing other ones and getting them ready to go onto the rotary. And then when that one comes off, I'm cleaning it and boxing it back up. So 3 minutes isn't a lot of time when you're doing that stuff.
Yep. And that's kind of what I do. Like I'll start out. I'll engrave about 4 or 5 cups
Right.
first, and then on that 5th or 6th cup, I'll put it in. I'll turn around and I'll start cleaning those 4 to 6. And then by the time it's done, I might have got done with 2, maybe 3 cups, and I keep it in a continual rotation. So I'm not sitting idle, because then if you're doing multiple ones at a time and you're just doing those and then going and doing something else, then you got to also configure or count your time that you have to come back and clean all of those when
Right.
you could have been cleaning them as you go. So once you're done with the job is complete.
Yeah.
Whereas now, once the job is done, now you got to go back and clean all this stuff. So it's preference, I guess, and kind of figuring out what's more important with the business and how you're running it and what you're doing. Let's see here, Jeff. In my opinion, running multiple in a line would be okay for laser fill option or operation if you choose the settings fill all at once, but doing a line after fill, you go back to moving the other rotaries.
Yeah, I mean,
Useless.
you couldn't do fill individual graphics. You would have to
Mm-mm.
do a fill everything at once, so it does hit that entire thing, going all the way across, sweeping. And
Yeah,
yeah, we
because
know Jason. He's got horrible internet. I don't know. He's still on
dude,
dial up.
I'm at 600 megabytes a second. How do I have crappy internet?
I don't know.
It might
Your
be
wife,
or virtual background screwing stuff up.
nothing.
Let me get rid of that.
Man, you're still blurry. I don't know. I like your
Am
other
I?
house better.
It,
I
it
like
might
your
be.
other living room.
I got my comfy chair right there. Um,
I was going to ask you to play on that piano. I'm glad I didn't.
on the piano. Yeah, yeah. I had to make a quick switch to the other room. Um, but yeah. So I mean, it can benefit you, but for me as a builder or designer and producer of rotaries, it's not something I see a lot of benefit in. And the last thing I want to do is make something, sell somebody on it, and then it not be beneficial.
Right.
I'm not about taking your money just for the sake of making money. I want to make sure that whatever I provide is going to be useful and have a purpose. Um, so I mean that's just the way I go with that. So um, let's see here, man, like no activity today.
Yeah. It's slow.
Anybody
I
got any
know.
questions? Hello, hello, hello. um, but no, I mean it's just one of those things. Um, we'll figure it out as we go. But yeah, no plans for that in the near future. Anyways,
No, that would have to be a very specific purpose, and it would have to take advantage of the machines that can move quickly
yeah.
to really be worthwhile.
And like I said, it's from a designer and builder standpoint, it's not something that I want to mess with. Like I said, I'm not here to take your money for no reason. And to me, that would be for no reason, and I just wouldn't feel comfortable with it. So, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I like the
So,
concept, but I like the
yeah,
concept of electric vehicles too. But I mean, is it a great reality? No.
yeah. Jeff, I'd have to probably agree with you on that. It's more of a marketing gimmick. um, because and even in the marketing part of it that I've seen for these other multi rollers, they say it's faster. They say it's quicker, but it's not. I
Well,
mean,
an increased productivity could be validated
well, yes, if
if you're doing something else while you're waiting on the machine,
yes, I mean in that
right?
aspect, but then again, that's a but the thing is in the marketing, it's kind of deceptive because it's not stated that way. It's
No,
just, hey,
no,
this is faster. You could do 6 cups at one time,
right,
things like that, and it's not the whole truth.
right.
So you're selling people on an idea that's not going to happen, or
And I mean,
not the way that they're thinking it's going to happen. Now,
right,
if you outlined it and said you could do 6 at a time, save time by opening up free time to do other things while these engrave, so you're not
right,
constantly standing by the machine. If it was described that way, then that's one thing. But just
right.
to say it's quicker, it's faster, you could do so many at a time, you're not telling the whole truth, and it misleads people, and that's
Are
not
you
the
are
business
you
I'm
are you
in.
are you asking for transparent advertising?
I mean, it'd be
Is it,
nice,
or is
but
something wrong with you?
but it's one of those things. People can say that, and they're not lying to you. They're just leaving it up to your interpretation of what they mean,
Right,
which
which
is
comes down to the customer. That I mean, a
exactly.
little a little common sense says, all right, well, it takes me 2 minutes to do one,
Hey,
and
Greg.
now I have six on there
Yeah. So I mean,
and negative space.
it's not it's not technically lying. It's just it's not described in a way that makes sense. Because I've seen several posts where people have these, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't want this anymore." Like they'll put it, it's like it's not working. Things don't line up, like you said, with the different cups and logos and all that stuff.
Right.
That by the time they're done with it, it doesn't line up. Things are off. Things like that. And I don't know I don't know the whole thing behind that. I just know some of the things that I've seen. Um, but
I've
you
had one
know,
in my hand
have you? I haven't.
and torn it apart.
um, but yeah, so I mean, it's all preference. If it benefits you, by all means, go ahead and do it. Um, but just be aware, and that's again where the research comes in. Talking to people that have it, use it, that are not affiliates. Do not talk to affiliates because they're selling you something. They're getting
Right.
something for you buying
Yeah.
that particular item.
If they're telling you this is the best thing since sliced bread and giving you a link, use my link. Then
Yeah.
maybe they
And
may
that's
be
another and that's another thing kind of circling back to what I said earlier is for laser. I mean, this goes for anything in the world these days. Like most of the time people that are talking about something only know one thing, for one. And two, if like you said, if hey, use my link, here's my link, I'm an affiliate, go here, get a discount. They're making money off you to talk about a product. Um, I'm not saying that's bad. People can make their money however they want to or need to, but just be aware that's the way, it's the reality of it. And that's one of the reasons why myself and Thunder, we don't use affiliates, um, because we don't want to drive sales by being pushy or things like that. We have ambassadors. That's kind of our not
I
mutual,
mean,
but that's kind of what we have.
even my landscape company, it's I don't want you to stay with me because you feel obligated. There's no contracts, there's nothing. You stay because you like the service I provide. You know, you want to go somewhere else, you go somewhere else.
Yep.
The Thunder's very good about not getting involved in that, which I like. Um, we have influencers. We do. People make content and talk about
but
the
it
product.
but it's not sales based. It's just
No,
you're
no
talking
clue.
about a product. You're not saying, "Oh,
Right,
this is the best thing in the world." They're actually showing what it does, what it
right,
can do, how it
right,
works, all this stuff.
right,
They're not saying, "Hey, this thing's the best. Look at all this stuff I did. Hey, use my link. Go get yours at a discount." You
right.
know, there's a difference.
There's no incentive besides usually there's a discount on a machine or something like that. There's either a discounted machine to make content. So you're basically an employee to make some cool video. You know, just like somebody sends somebody an iPhone and do a review of the iPhone and tell us about it. Tell us what you don't like as well, but tell us the good things, you know?
Yeah. And like I said, that's my business model. I know it's pretty much Thunder's as well. Like we don't, I mean, I run discounts sometimes, but with my partnerships with other companies and stuff, it's hard for me to do that because then it's kind of like undercutting them and things like that. So, but you know, typically it's like anything else. If you like what you have and the value, the money that you spend is worth the value that you get out of it, then there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't overinflate my prices. I mean, I know my prices are high, but the quality and craftsmanship that you get out of the machines that you get from me are top notch. Um, Other companies charge a lot of money. They use subpar parts or materials or whatever. I don't know because I don't pay attention really to them. I stay in my lane. You know, it's if you like my prices or you don't, I mean that's fine. Um, I'm not here to force your hand, and neither's Thunder. I mean, we kind of share the same kind of business model in that regard. You know, our products speak for themselves, um, and the price is accordingly, in our opinion. So, um, and like you said with landscaping, it doesn't matter what you do; it all comes back to the same thing. If someone doesn't like your service or your prices, they're going to go somewhere else.
Right.
If they like your service and prices, they're going to stay. I mean, why would they? Even though there's somebody of lesser, not value, but lesser
Yeah, it could be.
cost.
There's a lot of cutthroat companies. There's higher companies. There's equal. I mean, it's. But you know, you're not forced to stay here. It is what it is.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, just do your research. If what you find works for you, by all means, buy it. Be happy with it. And you know, as far as rotaries, I wish you the best of luck. I'm here to help if I can. Whether you buy my stuff or not, you know, I have people that call me and ask questions all the time. You know, some of them don't have my product, some of them do. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here to help people, just like Chris and everybody else that's on their support team. I mean, we're all here to help people first and foremost, um, and obviously support the equipment that we represent, sell, or otherwise use. So, let's see. I think I said hi, Greg.
Mhm.
Thanks for joining us. Um, yeah. So again, we're at our hour, so we'll go ahead and start winding this down. If anybody has any last minute questions, please feel free to ask. If you're just joining or you kind of popped in the last minute, check out the first part of the video. We got some tips and tricks and videos on how to set things up and do different things with the rotaries. And as always, feel free to ask questions, contact myself or whatever, and we'll be happy to help you. So I did notice that Chris has a new toy. Can you talk about that new toy?
That toy?
Yeah.
I can't yet.
Okay.
I can't yet.
I
It
didn't
is
know
not
if you.
it is not public, but it will be soon.
Okay. I didn't know if you could talk about it, so I
No,
wanted
it, there's two in the U.S. and they're both in beta version for us to test and see how we like it, and then it'll be available well before the end of the year, I believe.
to. Awesome.
Great price point. Is,
Now we just
is the
need to
only
get
thing I
him to
can
get a
say.
CO2.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't done that yet.
See what happens with that.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. They're advancing themselves. Um,
They
so
are, and I think
and it,
they're pretty good at reading the market and where things are going. So hopefully they are correct.
and don't get us wrong. We're not this podcast is not about pushing Thunder or Rotoboss or anything like that. It just kind of happened to go that way on this one because obviously it's Rotary related. So, but um, you know, the whole point behind this podcast is to kind of have a neutral ground where we're talking about things that other channels and people are not really talking about, and we're trying to focus it on the users themselves. So if you have any recommendations for things you'd like to see us talk about or hear us talk about, please leave it in the comment section. Send an email or something to myself or Chris, and that way we can gear this towards what you guys want versus what people just randomly put out. Because the whole reason behind this again is one, for me and Chris to bicker back and forth about what's right and what's wrong. Um, but first and foremost, it's about helping you guys and trying to kind of give you our opinions and guidance on the laser business, because between the two of us, we got probably close to 20 years of experience in the laser business, with multiple machines, um, and things like that. Uh, so please don't take it that way. This is not intended, nor will it ever be intended to promote or anything, any particular business. It's just we both use the same equipment, and it just happens to be what it is. I mean, I've got other fibers, CO2 galvos, UVs. I got other companies, stuff like that, Hoshin and OMG, and also got a Thunder one as well. So I mean, it's not about that. It's about you guys. So please, don't take that the wrong way, or don't take this episode or anything we talk about the wrong way. Um, we're just here to help. So I think that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Probably time to go. I was hoping there'd be more questions.
That's
But I do myself. I don't know if Chris wants to join in at some time, trying to start up like a laser and or rotary kind of Q&A sessions
Mm-hmm.
um, in the near future. I know some people have been asking about it, and I was kind of trying to front load that with this podcast, is to try to get that ball rolling as far as doing that kind of stuff, and look
Yeah,
forward
maybe
to.
the next time we can do like a free for all.
Yeah,
Come in, ask your questions, and that may drive more people that already think they know everything there is to know about Rotary, so they didn't join today.
yeah, and stay tuned because I plan on having Joey from Lightburn on. We planned on having him in June, but he had some stuff come up that he had to take care of that took him away from being able to do that with us. But we still plan on getting him on here as soon as possible to talk about Lightburn specifically, the new stuff they got coming out, um, and as well as some other guests as well to kind of talk about their experiences and things like that. So, um, again, stay tuned. We got a lot more coming. We're going to try to get more consistent, hopefully. um, but with the holidays and school ending, and Chris was traveling and I've been traveling, and so we'll try to make it more consistent, um, and reliable as far as when we'll be on here and doing things. So, anyways, Chris, you got anything to put out before we
No, I mean,
look out of here?
next week I'll be at Thunder HQ in Texas. I'll be there for a couple days, work on some refurbs, have our quarterly meeting. So if possible in the evening one night, I'll be there Wednesday to Friday. Maybe do something from the warehouse down there if possible. If not, then we'll follow back up the following week.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I'm sure some people would like to see. I mean, I haven't seen it in about a year. I know
Right.
a lot's changed since then, so it'd be interesting to see how things kind of turned out. They were under construction last time I was up there, rearranging and rededicating spaces and all kinds of stuff. So um, I think that'd be something I'd be interested in seeing myself. And I'm sure some other people might be as well, because I think Thunder has several different machines now, like competitor machines, right? Are they working on something like that?
Yeah, we have some in our demo room. Yeah.
So, um, So that'd be cool to see kind of what they got going on with that and everything. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. Just keep me informed, and I'll put together the post and let everybody know what's going on with that. But yeah.
All right.
So
Well, sounds
so
good.
thanks everybody for joining us for episode 9 of the Turn and Burn podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully, you guys were able to learn a little bit of something. If not, we're here to answer questions and help out any way we can. So hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you later, Jason.